Hello guys, welcome to the series of Python programming. In our previous videos of this series, we have already seen some of the important concepts of Python, like we have seen how to write conditional statement in Python with the help of if. We have seen all the variations of if statement like if else, nested if, elif, fine. We have also seen various situations how we can use loops. We have studied all about for loop, we have studied all about while loop, and then we have also seen different operators, different how the different operators work in Python with different types of examples. We have seen all the categories. Fine. Now in this video we are going to see what are functions in Python, how they work, what are the different types in which we can send the argument, what is argument, how the parameters work. We will see all those things in this video. Fine. Now before starting the video, if you are new to the series, if you are watching this video for the first time from the series, I would recommend you to check the link in the description for our Python tutorial, in which we have already studied some of the important concepts of Python. You can go and visit those first for your better understanding. Okay, so however, let's start today's video and let's start learning about Python functions. So the very first question that comes in our mind is, what is a function? So in terms of programming, we can say that a function is nothing but a block of code which will only run when it is called. Fine. That means what? A function is a block of code. It may contain 2 lines, 3 lines, 10 lines, 20 lines, right? So that particular block, we will be writing it inside a function that will be declared as a body of the function, and it will be called or it will be executed. That block of code will be executed only when it will be called. Fine. So that is known as function. Now what is the main use of function? Why we are making function? So what happens in the function, that whenever we are having any particular operation, you can say particular operation like adding 2 numbers, multiplying 2 numbers, or let's say we want to find the factorial of any number. For example, I am working with some operation, or I am working with some system in which repeatedly I want to find factorial of some numbers, and then I have to take the result out and I have to do some task based on it. So what happens that, for example, first of all I want to find out the factorial of 10. So I am writing the code to find out factorial of 10. Then after some time I want to find out the factorial of 15, then 20, then 23. So in that case what happens that again and again I have to write the same logic, because the logic to find out factorial will be same, right? So the only number is changing. So in that case what we can do, that instead of writing the code of factorial again and again, what we can do is we can write one function that will find the factorial of any number. That means what we will do is we will write a function in which we will just pass any number, and based on that number, the logic is already written, it will find out the factorial and it will directly give the result to us. So whenever I want to find out the factorial of any number, I can simply call that function with the number for which I want to find out the factorial. Simple, sounds simple. So yes, this is where the function comes into the picture. This is how function makes our task easy, and it can also reduce the number of lines in our code. Fine. Okay, so that is what function is. And the number, as I am telling, the number or the data that we are passing at the time of calling the function, it is known as parameters. Fine. So these are just the keywords that you should know. They are known as parameters, or they are also known as arguments. Fine. So let's see how to write a basic function. So whenever you want to define a function, you have to define it with the keyword def as shown in the screen. So you have to mention the keyword def, then you have to give a space, and then you have to write the function name. Now the function name can be anything. You can name it as my function, something like this. Fine. And always after writing the function name, we are having one parenthesis like this. So this parenthesis, whenever I am writing the name of function and this parenthesis, so this parenthesis is actually the indicator that this name is the name of the function. Fine. So def, then space, then our function name, followed by parenthesis, and then as we have seen in the loops, as we have seen in the if statement, Here also similarly you have to write colon. Fine. So this is the syntax, and then after doing enter, in the next line you just have to write what you want to do inside this function. For example, as I've told you, finding the factorial, adding two numbers, any such task you can do as per your requirement. For example, here we are just trying to see the basic syntax. So let's see, I just want to print hello, nothing else. Fine, I just want to print hello. Okay, here also notice the use of indentation. As I always say you in every video almost, that indentation is very important in Python. Here also this indentation is very important. If you don't leave this space, if you directly write from here, it will give the indentation error. So this space is important. Fine. So yes, this is my function, and inside the function I am just printing hello. Now what happens, what we have seen in the definition, that any function, the body of the function will be executed only when it will be called. So I need to call the function. So how can I call the function? By just writing the function name. So if I directly write here like this, I have just written the function name with the parenthesis. So this will directly, whenever it will, this line will be executed, third line, it will directly go to this function definition and it will call it and it will execute it. Fine. So let's run it. See, you can see that we are getting the output by printing this hello. Fine. So this is the simple example. This is how I can define my definition. This is print is nothing but what my function is doing, and ultimately I have to call the function. So first of all, this line will be executed. As soon as it will be executed, this function, it will go to the definition of this function and it will call it and execute it. Fine, simple. Now this is the simple function that I have shown you. Now let's see how to pass arguments or parameters into the function. So let's say again, any definition of function is there, and for example, I am passing something called name. This is my argument, name. And here in the print, I want to print my name also. So for example, I am writing hello. Then we have already seen that whenever we want to concate two strings, we have to use plus sign in Python. Fine. So I will write plus and I will write name. So what I want, whatever name is, I want my function to print hello, then whatever my name is, like hello ABC, hello XYZ, whatever it is. Fine. Now when I am calling my function, obviously, because now see, by this my function, the name is same, so we are getting that by this we want to call this function. Now here in this function, one parameter is expected, so you have to pass the value of the parameter from here only. If you don't pass it, it will give you an error, that mismatch in parameter or something like that. Fine. So as there is one argument here, you have to pass the name, the value of the name from here at the time of calling the function. So let's see, we are passing the name, whatever it is, let's say Rahul. Okay, fine. So let's run it. See, we are getting the output as hello Rahul. Simple, what we have done, we have called the function. At the time of calling the function, I have passed the parameter or the value as Rahul. This Rahul will go into this name variable. Now the value of this variable name is Rahul. Now inside, when I am writing print hello and I am appending this name, so this name value will be appended and that is Rahul. Now if I write, see, if I write something, if I edit it, then I will get that only in my output. See, got it? So this is how you can pass the argument based on your requirement. Now here we have passed only one argument. Similarly, you can pass 2, 3. Okay, let me show you. You can pass 2, 3 arguments also. For example, now instead of just name, I want first name as well as last name. Fine. And how can I pass it? So like this, I have to pass it separated by commas. Fine. So I am showing you with the help of two examples. You can use 3 arguments, 4 arguments, 10 arguments as per your requirement. So for example, here we want to pass 2 arguments, first name and last name. So they have to be separated by comma as shown here. And for example, I want to print hello and then full name. So hello plus name, plus first name, because here the name or the variable we are using, it should be same as these parameters. Fine, then only it will understand that these variables are nothing but we have to take from here. Fine. Okay. So hello, then F name, then I want a space, and then again last name. Got it? What we are doing? Simple. Now obviously now at the time of calling the function also I am supposed to pass two parameters, because here two parameters are there. So here I have to pass two parameters separated by comma only. So let's say my first name is Rahul and my last name is, let's say, Sharma, whatever. Fine. So now if I run it, you can see hello Rahul Sharma. So now what we have done is we have passed two parameters here, and both the parameters will take place as the value of these two variables, and when we are printing them, these two variables will be printed here with this value. So hello Rahul Sharma we are getting. Fine. So as I told, in this way you can pass n number of variables or n number of arguments based on your requirement. Okay. Now after that we are having something known as ARGS, star ARGS. Now what this ARGS stands for? This ARGS stands for arbitrary arguments. ARGS is nothing but arbitrary arguments are shortened to ARGS in Python. So what happens, or what do we actually mean by this star ARGS? Now there are many cases when you do not know how many arguments should be passed to your function. So at that time what you can do, you can simply add a star before the parameter name in the function. So in that way what will happen, that the function will receive a tuple of arguments or series of arguments, and based on the requirement it can access the items accordingly. So when we are using star ARGS, when we don't know that exactly how many arguments should be passed in the function. Fine. So let's see with example, you will get a clear idea when we will see the example. See, first let's say we are having one definition. So how to define it? With the help of DEF. So let's say my function is my func. Now see, let's say I am calling this function as, in my function when I am calling this function, so let's say I am passing 3 or 4 names. Fine. So for example, let's take Rahul only because we are taking that. So let's say we are passing Rahul 1, Rahul 2, Rahul 3. Fine. So what we are doing, when I am calling my function my func, I have passed 3 parameters. Got it? Now in this function what I want is, let's say I want to print something like the best football player in team A is. Now let's see, let's say Rahul 1, Rahul 2, Rahul 3, these are the names of the players of team A. Fine. So these are the players from team A. Now in my definition, I actually want to print that the best football player in team A is. See, all these 3 are the members of team A, but in my function, I just want to print the name of the best player. Fine. In that case, what I can do, but I have to pass, see, for example, I am having different things, so you will get better idea. The captain of team A is. Yes. Now it will make sense to you. See, what we are doing, that I have passed here 3 members of team A. You can pass all the members of team A also in this function. Fine. So when we are calling the function, we are passing as arguments all the members of team A. Cool. Now what I want to do in my function, actually in the definition of my function, I want to print two things. First of all, I want to print the best football player in team A. I have to print the name of the best player, and secondly, I also want to print the name of the captain of team A. Fine. So in that case, what we are doing, we have passed all the team members in the argument. So here what we will do, see, this is the case when I don't want to, when I currently don't know that how many parameters I have to pass, because actually I want all the members, and from all the members only I can choose these two things. So what we will do, we will pass the players with a star sign, as I have shown you star ARGS means actually we are passing, this is known as arbitrary argument. So we can say that here we have passed arbitrary argument. Now after definition of function, colon is there. Fine. Now how I can access it? We can access it similar to like we are accessing the items of the array. So here I have passed three values. Now the index of three values, or we can access them as, here we have passed it as players. So let's say how it will be accessed. This will be indicated by players of 0. This will be players of 1, and this will be players of 2. Fine. So let's say Rahul 1 is the best football player. So I can print it as players 0. Now let's say Rahul 3 is the captain of team A. So I can fetch it as players of 2. Fine, let's run it. See, the best football player in team A is Rahul 1, and the captain of team A is Rahul 3. Got it what we have done? So this is a very simple concept, but students find it sometimes confusing. So that's why I hope with the help of this example you have got a clear idea. So in such cases, when we are having the members of all the team, or we are having multiple options, and from the multiple options we have to choose, or we have to use 2 or 3 numbers in the function. So what we will do, we will actually pass all the arguments, and just in the argument I will place a star sign. So this will show that it is arbitrary argument. So what will happen is, I can, out of all the arguments that have been passed, I can use any of them with the help of their index. Fine. So this is where arbitrary arguments come into the picture, and we can use them efficiently in this way. Fine. Okay. So this is one of the important concepts of function. Now after that, another one variation is, when we are calling the function, we are passing the arguments. Now we can pass the argument. See what happens. Let me show you. We have taken that first name last name example, right? We have taken this first name last name example. Okay, let me edit it only. For example, see, we have already seen the first name last name example. Here let me call the function as by 2 parameters, that is first name and last name. Fine. And here I am having 2 parameters. Okay, sorry, here I have to pass the name. So we have passed what? Rahul Sharma, I guess. So let us pass the same. And here we are having first name and last name, right? And I want to print hello plus first name, fine, plus last name. We have already seen this example. Okay. So see what happens generally in case of multiple arguments as shown in this example. So whenever we are passing more than one argument, for example, here we are passing 2 arguments. So what will happen that always we have to take care of the sequence. Fine. Here I have passed Rahul first. So this will go to the first argument, that is F name, and Sharma I have passed after that, or I have passed it as a second argument. So this Sharma will go as L name. Fine. So always whenever we are calling the function with the help of arguments, always sequence should be taken care of generally. Fine. So this is the case whenever we are using more than one arguments. If I am writing 5 arguments here, and if I am calling this function with the help of 5 arguments, then those 5 values will be associated with the 5 arguments one to one. Like first value will go to the first variable, second value will go to the second variable, and like that. So sequence is very important in such cases. But there is a case in function when if you don't want to take care of the sequence, or if you don't want to maintain like one-to-one correspondence, so what we can do is there is one of the way that you can pass the function arguments while calling as key value pair. So what I mean is, if you don't want to pass it like that, if you want to pass Sharma first, so you can do that. How you can do that? At the time of passing, you can mention key value pair. Like you can mention that last name equal to Sharma, comma, first name equal to Rahul. Got it? So let's run it. See, there is no change in the output. Hello, Rahul Sharma is there. So what I mean is that here we are dealing with only 2 variables, but if you are dealing with 3, 4, 10, 20, more than one arguments, so always remembering the sequence and passing the values with the help of one by one correspondings is a difficult task. Many times what happens that maybe by just interchanging one or more argument, you can get an error also. So in such cases, to avoid the confusion, this is one of the best way we can do. So I don't need to worry about the sequence. See, here first name is at the beginning, but I have passed first name later and I have passed L name first. But that is very much fine because I have mentioned that key value pair, that is, this is my key. So I am mentioning explicitly that Sharma is my last name and Rahul is my first name. Fine. So this is one of the variation which is very important in case you are doing some complex programs and you want to like you don't want to take care of the sequence, you don't want any confusion, so this is the best way you can work out with. Fine. Okay, now there is a provision where we can pass the default parameter value. So what do I mean by default parameter value? For example, I am having let's say I want to pass country name in my function and I want to print that I live in, then country name, like I live in India, I live in USA, I live in Pakistan, or whatever it is. So I live in, and then we want to write our country name. Fine. For example, we want to do something like this. Okay. And so obviously here also I have to pass one argument that will be country. So let's say I'm passing India. So let's run it first. I'm getting I live in India. Fine. So now for example, I will be using this function. For example, there is a database for student of any university, and I want to use this function whenever I want to define the country from which the student belongs. So many times it happens that in the database some values are missing. So in that case, it can be useful. So for example, let's say the university is in India. For the university for which I am using this code or for which I am using this form, that university is in India. So what I can do, that for all the students who have already defined their country, different countries, their countries will be assigned accordingly. And for the students for which country is not available, who have not yet filled the country field, so what happened that instead of leaving it blank, we can take default value as India, because as the university is in India, so the more possibility is that most of the students will be from India. So what we can do in this function is that whenever at the time of calling the function, whenever argument is present, just assign this argument there, just assign the country as whatever the value is passed, and in case no value is passed, just assign the country as India. So what I mean is, for example, there are different students from different country. So let's say for some student it is India, for some student it is USA. Let's say for some student it is Pakistan, it may be Brazil, it may be Bangladesh or whatever. Fine. So, for example, these are the countries of the students. For example, 4 students are belonging from these 4 countries. And for example, there is a student whose country information is not present. So at that time, what will happen, that this function will be called without any parameter, because there is no country name available. So it will be passed without any parameter. Now what I want is, I just want to set, so what I want is that whenever the country name is not available, in all the places where the country name is not available for any student, just assign the default value as India. So what I can do, I can write here that country equal to India. Whenever I am writing here in the definition itself, whenever I am writing that country equal to India, what it will understand, that whenever the country name is not available, this default value should be assigned there. So let's run it. See, for the first 4 values, I live in India, USA, Pakistan, Brazil. We are getting these 4 values. Now in the 5th value, when there is no country available, it has taken this default value of India. Fine, got it? How to give the default value and in which cases it can be used. I have shown you. I have just given you a rough idea of the example. So in such cases, whenever any value is missing and we want to assign some default value to it, we can define our function in this way, writing the default value in this way. So parameter name equal to, and you can give your default value. Fine, I hope you have understood it. Now let's see the example where we want to pass a list as an argument of the function. So how to do it? For example, this is the function where I want to pass again country. Let's say country only I want to pass. Now, for example, we want to pass argument as a whole list. Fine. So for that, obviously we have to define the list first. So for example, we are having the list of country as country equal to list means we know that list is always enclosed by square bracket. So we are defining the list of country as, let's write some of the countries. Fine. So for example, our list country is containing these 4 values of the country. So now I want to pass this whole list as my parameter or argument. And now here in the definition also I have taken this whole country. Now what I want is, for example, I want to access all the values one by one and I want to print them. Now we have already seen that how we can print all the values of any list by using loop. So here we are going to use for loop, for space, then let's say we have to write any variable. So I am writing I in. In is what? In is the membership operator for about which we have already seen in detail in our operators video. Fine. So for I in, then we have to write the name of our list. We have already seen these things. And what we can do now, we just want to print the name of all the countries. So simply I will write print I. Simple. So let's run it. See, as you can see in the output, all the values are printed here. It is simple. Fine. So in this way, it is also possible that you can define all your required values inside a list. You can pass the whole list, and then inside any for loop or while loop, you can access all the values of the list inside your actual function. Fine. Now the last thing that I want to show you is after passing some argument in the function, we can do some operation in the function and we can return the value accordingly. Now in order to return any value, we are writing, or we can use the return keyword. So let's just quickly see that return keyword. Finally, how we can use return keyword. So see, again, let's say we are having one function. In that function, simply what I want to do is, I want to let's say I want to add 2 numbers and I want to simply return the result of the addition. Simple. So here let's say we are having 2 numbers as num1 and num2. And what I want to do here is I want to add two numbers and return the result. So simply what I can do, I can use return keyword. See, return is the keyword. So return, and what I want to return, num1 plus num2. Fine, I simply want to return num1 plus num2. Now, whenever we want to call the function, we have to simply pass two numbers, and whatever two numbers we will pass, it will give us the addition result of these two numbers. Okay, we have to return. Okay, let me write this inside print, then only it can print this. Fine. So let's run it. See, you can get your result here. You can change the number, you can simply check it. First of all, we have got 40. Now when I am doing it as 6 and 4, I am getting 10. Fine. So this is how you can use the return function. So what we have done, I am calling my function, this function, with the parameter 6 and 4, and I am printing the result. Now what result it will get? 6 and 4 will be passed here. Num1 will get the value 6, num2 will get the value 4, and inside the function I have written that num1 plus num2 means return 6 plus 4. So it will return 10 from here, and it will come here, which will be printed because print function is there. So inside print we will get the value 10, and this 10 will be printed. Fine. So in this video we have seen all the variations of the functions, of the parameters, of the arguments, how in different way we can write it, which are the different ways, how we can take care of the sequence. If we don't want to take care of the sequence of the arguments, what pattern should we use, what pattern should we follow. Fine. So I have tried to show you all the variations of the functions in Python. So I hope you have understood everything. In case you have any doubt, you can always ask in the comment section. So keep learning. We will meet tomorrow at the same time in the same place with a new topic. Thank you so much.